The Family Plan 2 opens several months after the chaotic events of the first film, where Dan Morgan's long-buried past as a retired assassin nearly destroyed the peaceful suburban life he built with his wife Jessica and their kids. Now, Dan is determined to prove he has fully left his old life behind. To make up for the stress and danger the family endured, he plans what he calls the greatest Christmas vacation in Morgan family history, a 2-week holiday trip through London and Paris, complete with glittering lights, holiday markets, 2-decker bus tours, and everything a normal, danger-free family should enjoy. Dan's upbeat optimism contrasts with Jessica's lingering unease. Since discovering Dan used to be a trained government assassin, she's tried to rebuild her trust in him. But there are moments, small, often fleeting, when she wonders if the man she married still hides things beneath his cheerful dad persona. Their teenage daughter Nina, now studying abroad for a semester in London, eagerly awaits their arrival, while younger siblings Kyle and Max pack their suitcases with far more toys than clothes. The Morgans land in London just as winter fog settles over the Thames, and for the briefest moment, everything feels perfect. Nina greets them outside a London dorm building, wrapped in a red scarf, glowing with independence and excitement. Her boyfriend Omar, a sweet, polite architecture student, joins the reunion, hoping to make a good impression on Dan, who watches the boy with exaggerated suspicion, joking about interrogation protocols. But the calm lasts only a day. Across London, a man known only as Aiden, dressed in black and moving with a quiet, predatory confidence, receives a coded message. On the table before him lies a thick folder marked with Dan's real name from his assassin days. Aiden studies the file, his expression a blend of resentment and determination. He has a past with Dan, one that Dan doesn't know about yet, and he intends to pull Dan back into old business, whether Dan wants it or not. The family's sightseeing begins innocently. They take holiday pictures near Big Ben, wander the Christmas market in Hyde Park, and ride the London Eye. But during one evening outing, Dan notices a shadowy figure following them through the crowd. He brushes it off at first, assuming his old instincts are just flaring. But when the figure appears again near Tower Bridge and then outside their hotel, Dan immediately shifts into his old hyper-aware mode. Something is off, and whatever it is, he knows it's connected to him, not his family. Trying to protect Jessica from more fear, he hides his concerns, pretending everything is fine. But she can sense his tension anyway. Their marriage is in a delicate place, strong but still healing, and Jessica quietly begins questioning whether this trip will truly be peaceful. The threat reveals itself when Aiden finally contacts Dan. Using a burner phone slipped anonymously under their hotel door, Aiden speaks calmly, almost warmly, telling Dan that he has a long overdue debt to settle. He wants Dan to help execute a robbery at a secured London facility, something precise, dangerous, and undeniably illegal. And if Dan refuses, Aiden threatens to abduct Nina, whose schedule and whereabouts he already knows in chilling detail. From that moment, the family vacation spirals into a tense, fast-moving thriller. Dan tries to play along with Aiden's demands just enough to buy time, sneaking away from family outings to gather information, scope locations, and plan countermeasures. Jessica quickly realizes Dan is hiding something again. Her patience snapped when she saw him racing through a train station, dodging people with the athletic precision of a man chasing or escaping something. Dan finally confesses that someone from his past is hunting them. Jessica's frustration erupts, hurt that he once again tried to carry the danger alone. But her anger turns to fierce resolve when she realizes their family is truly being targeted. Jessica insists on helping. No more secrets, no more Dan facing threats by himself. Their relationship deepens through necessity. Trust is rebuilt not through peace, but through battle. Their kids, unaware of the full danger, slowly begin noticing strange things. Dan's forced smiles, Jessica's whispered arguments with him, and the frantic way they change destinations midday. Nina, more observant than the younger ones, confronts Dan privately. He tries to reassure her without scaring her, but she knows enough to realize someone wants to hurt them, and that she's part of the leverage. Aiden's manipulation escalates. He sends Dan a video feed of Nina at her university, watched from afar by his operatives. He forces Dan to meet him inside an abandoned bank along the Thames. In their tense meeting, Aiden reveals the core of his motive. Years ago, Dan unknowingly participated in a mission that destroyed Aiden's own family. Aiden is convinced Dan owes him, not just revenge, but completion of a plan Aiden has been building for years to expose a corrupt global banking network. Aiden claims that the heist he wants Dan to execute is morally righteous, a chance to take down powerful criminals. But Dan recognizes the truth. Aiden is unstable, vengeful, and dangerously self-justifying. The stakes escalate when Aiden's men corner the family on a London bus, leading to a chaotic action sequence across the top level of a double-decker bus. Dan fights to protect his wife and kids while weaving through holiday traffic, eventually leaping from the moving bus with Jessica and the children, just as Aiden's men crash into a line of taxis. Realizing London is too dangerous, Dan decides the family must flee to Paris. Using fake passports and help from Dan's old mentor, now a recluse living in France, they escape through the Eurotunnel. But Aiden anticipates this and pushes the conflict into the narrow, winding streets of Montmartre. The family tries to blend in with holiday crowds, while Dan attempts to gather resources and develop a plan to stop Aiden's operation entirely. In Paris, the emotional core of the film deepens. Jessica confesses how frightened she was during Dan's first reveal as an assassin, and how she needs honesty more than promises. Dan breaks down, admitting he never learned how to be just a normal man, and fears he's dragging his family through chaos they don't deserve. Their shared vulnerability strengthens them, and Jessica becomes an active partner instead of someone being protected from the truth. Meanwhile, Nina's relationship with Omar complicates things. His presence is both a comfort and a liability, especially when he gets pulled into danger after refusing to abandon her. Dan sees that the boy truly cares for his daughter, and in a moment of reluctant respect, he entrusts Omar with keeping Nina safe while he confronts Aiden. Aiden initiates the final phase of his plan, a synchronized heist targeting a high-security vault beneath a Parisian financial conglomerate. He blackmails Dan into entering the facility using his old credentials and combat experience. Dan pretends to comply, but secretly works with Jessica and Nina to sabotage the plan from inside. The climax unfolds under Paris in a labyrinth of tunnels, security chambers, and electronically locked corridors. Dan battles Aiden in a brutal close-quarters fight, the weight of their pasts colliding physically and emotionally. Aiden reveals that he never intended for Dan to survive the mission. The heist was simply a stage to force Dan into publicly destroying his own reputation, allowing Aiden to rewrite the narrative of who Dan really is. Dan counters by triggering the vault's internal lockdown, trapping Aiden's men and forcing Aiden to retreat. The final showdown occurs atop a snowy Parisian rooftop, overlooking the Eiffel Tower, glowing gold against the winter sky. Dan and Aiden fight fiercely, their silhouettes clashing against the lights. Aiden nearly overpowers Dan, fueled by rage and years of obsession, but Dan refuses to sacrifice his family again. With Jessica's help arriving just in time to distract Aiden, Dan gains the upper hand. Aiden slips, hanging precariously from the ledge, refusing Dan's attempt to save him. With a bitter final smile, Aiden lets himself fall, unable to imagine living in a world where Dan wins. After the confrontation, French authorities clear the Morgans of wrongdoing, partly due to evidence Dan collected proving Aiden orchestrated the crimes alone. The family finally restarts their vacation, exhausted but stronger, sharing a quiet Christmas morning together in a small Parisian apartment overlooking the city. Dan and Jessica reaffirm their commitment to honesty and partnership, understanding now that peace isn't something given to families, it's something they fight for together. The movie ends with the family walking through a Paris Christmas market at dusk, lights shimmering around them, the children laughing freely for the first time in days. Dan watches Jessica and the kids with deep gratitude, knowing he came close to losing everything. The camera pulls back as the family disappears into the festive crowd, seemingly safe, though the faint sense of unresolved danger lingers, because a man with Dan's past can never fully escape the shadows.